So tonight's class, we're going to need a variety of props. So I thought what I'd do is combine yin yoga, so long holds, with the option to throw in some therapy balls if you have them. Therapy balls, what are they called? Tennis balls, anything you've got around the house. 1, 2 if you have them, just as an option. So some of the poses that we're going to hold tonight, there's an option to use the balls as well, and that might make this even just a little bit juicier. So we're going to hold each pose not for too long. Usually in yin we'd hold for about sort of 3 minutes minimum. But because we're going to use the balls and they can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable, I thought we'd do 2.5-minute holds tonight. So I'm going to set a little timer. I'm going to get that started. And we're going to start in our first position. Oh, the other thing is, if you've got a rolled up blanket or towel, something that you can make a little bolster out of. So a bolster is basically a yoga cushion and it's firm. So we want something that's going to be supportive. I'm also going to use a block as well. And if you don't have a block, you probably don't, a book can be a good option here too. So I'm going to use all of those things. And we're going to start in our first position, lying on our belly. And if you've got balls, you're going to place them right in the hip flexors. So it's quite an uncomfortable little position, especially if you do a lot of sitting. So we're going to take ourselves onto the balls here. And so even if you don't have the balls, this is still a beautiful back bend. So if you can put your elbows up onto something, a blanket or some books, and that's providing, of course, you're not feeling compression in your lower back, because if that's happening for you, you're going to come down a little bit deeper, take the elbows to the floor. Now, if you are on therapy balls, you can tuck your toes under and just do a gentle chugging type motion here. And that's going to begin to massage out. And this is an area that gets quite tight because we do spend way too much time sitting. And this massages the front of the hip flexor a little into the psoas, which is nice. So, wherever you are, let's just start with a big breath in. And then a long breath out. And so that's a technique you can use whenever you're using the balls, just to hold on top on the posture and then just breathe into it. So that's always a nice one. So just deep breaths in and long breaths out. And so if you're just holding the yin pose tonight, just close down your eyes. And allow yourself to just begin to arrive. Wash off the day. Allow the dust to settle. We want to find that place of quiet where we can really begin to relax. And remember, if at any time any of the postures gets too much, if using the balls is too strong, then just take an easier option. You want this little practice to be something that fills up your cup. Alright, we're going to slowly roll off the balls if you're on the balls. I'm going to take a little back bend here. So we're just going to switch over, taking that bolster, that cushion, behind our rib cage, not using the balls for this pose. I've got a little block for under my head. That's because I've got a little stiffness in the neck. But if you want to just place your head all the way back on the floor, and that'll depend too on how high your bolster is. And so we want to think here really about opening up the heart space. So opening up those muscles in the center of the chest. We want to really feel those shoulders draping down and back. And close down the eyes and really breathe into the chest. We can use our Ujjayi breath, that oceanic sound. We give a little squeeze to the back of the throat, like you do when you whisper. And so that sound of the breath becomes a little bit audible. This has a really calming effect, a real down-regulating effect on the body. Because it really brings us to extend our exhalation. And take a deep breath in. A long breath out and slowly roll off your bolster if you're using a bolster. And we're going to come into happy baby pose. Now if you've got really tight hips, you might want to actually put your bum up on a bolster. We're going to take the hands to the insteps of the feet and hold here. If you wanted to use the balls, you could take the balls behind your knees and instead just take a little Apanasana, so a little wind relieving pose, this one's called. And just take the little ball in behind the knee. And so you're going to just give little gentle squeezes, and that's going to give a little bit of calf massage. And then you can just adapt and change the position of the balls and work your way down the legs. So that's going to get a little bit into the hamstrings, but you'll probably feel it more intensely, especially if you're using your hands. You'll feel it more intensely in the calves. So I'm going to go right back up behind the knees again, and then a little point with the toes, a little flex of the feet, and that can just change the angle of the muscles. So changing the muscles is just going to give you a little bit more of a massage feeling. And of course you can just stick to your happy baby pose, which is a great pose for opening up the hips. So feeling free to make a little change. Ooh. And so just putting aside half an hour, whether you're doing this tonight with me or whether you're doing it at a later stage. Just putting aside half an hour to give yourself a good stretch out, a little bit of time out for the mind. We all know the endorphins that we get from working out. And for a lot of us, that's the reason that we do it, because we know it's good for our mental health, to feel good, to feel happy in our body. And this is another way of accessing that. Take the little balls. It's going to roll to one side and come on up. So we're going to take a forward fold position. Legs go straight out in front. We're just going to fold ourselves forward, relax over the legs. Now, if you want a little bit of something special for the hamstrings, you're going to take the balls to that smile line of your butt. And so you probably have to bend the knees depending on how sore that is. Because we never want to be in a position where we're having to make a face. If we're making that crazy pain face, then you want to back it off a little. And so just folding forward. And we can always add a little bit of our own weight, and that's going to make it stronger. So that's your options. And you can also move it down a little bit further, find a juicy spot, and fold from here. And then again, just that breathing. So even if you're not using the balls here, this is such a fantastic stretch for opening up the back, for stretching out the glutes, lengthening the hamstrings. You want to make sure that your neck's not doing any work here. And so just let the head go heavy. And we can always contract the muscles that are on the ball and press the ball into the mat and then release it. And it's sort of like a little version of P&F stretching on the ball. And take a deep breath in, then contract and press the muscles of the leg into the ball. And then release the breath and soften the muscles. And take a deep breath in. Long breath out. Slowly come on up. So I'm going to turn to face you so you can see this one a little better. You're going to cross your right leg over your left leg. You're going to take your left hand out to the side, and you're going to take a little lean over. So whatever leg's on top, that arm is up, and we're taking a little bend. No balls for this one. So this is a variation on Gomukhasana, which is our cow face pose, and that's what's going on through the legs here. We're getting a little lateral flexion of the spine, so reaching all the way over. We want to keep our sit bones grounded. Let's get really long through that side body. And just breathing into those side ribs. And take a deep breath in. A long breath out. Use the inhale to lift you up. Whoa, it's amazing. And then we're just going to go straight over to the other side. So the other leg goes on top. So left leg on top now. Left arm comes up. Find that side bend, that lateral flexion. And this is one of those poses that you stay in it for a little while and you find a little more space. And you might even be able to bring that elbow to the floor. And so it becomes a little more restful. And of course, you can always use your props there too. Always use your props to make things a little more comfortable. And just keep lengthening the neck. Keep anchoring through the sit bones. And close down the eyes. And make this a personal meditation, a moving meditation. And you give yourself half an hour just to be alone with your thoughts or not. And so let those thoughts go if that's a possibility. What I like is you often start thinking and then eventually it just fades away. And you're able to really be with it. Really allow yourself to have a little bit of space and peace. Take a deep breath in. Long breath out. Slowly come on up. Wow. Uncross the legs, such a big pose. You're going to come to lie on your back. And if you want to use a ball, you can here. So we're going to either take a number 4 stretch, drawing that right leg across, drawing that left knee in. And the option is to take a ball underneath your right glute and just to rock around. And if you wanted to make it more intense, so either staying here if you don't have a ball, if you want to make it more intense, coming up and onto your elbows, and allowing the body to rock around a little. Even coming onto that side and getting into that TFL, which is a little bit like heaven and a little bit like hell, in the best way. Another option just to pin and hold, just to breathe into it. And so choosing whichever option. And the great things about the balls are they're really meant to be explored. So we've all got really different bodies and we all use them in really different ways. So we're going to have different places where we feel tension, tightness. And so this combination of therapy balls and yin is really good, especially for those of you that find it difficult to sit still for a couple of minutes in each pose. Let's just take that straight over to the other side. So whatever option, if you were holding the number 4 stretch, fantastic. If you're using the balls as well, great. Then just finding that whichever option. And the fantastic thing about these therapy balls is you really get to take control. of your own health. Really get to use them in such a way to support your body. And all those little aches and pains that come from training. I always used to say to my osteo, imagine what people who don't work out, they might have less of those muscular pains, but I think that long term, the pains that they suffer end up being far more serious. So I'm happy to stick to my tight glutes. Because if you're rolling around like I am on these therapy balls, it's such sweet torture. Oh. Oh, I think they're running away. I've found that in some of those sorer places, sometimes using 2 balls instead of 1 makes it actually a little gentler. With the 1 ball can really be pressing into just one spot, whereas if you've got 2, it sort of takes over a larger space and can be a little less intense. And that's really useful for this next one. So the options are to take a block or a bolster underneath your rib cage and just lie down. So coming into a big lateral side bend, or to take your balls and you're going to place them long way, so one on top of each other. I want you to try to bring them towards your lats. So lats are like the wings, the wing muscles. So more towards the back than the front, especially for the ladies. We don't want this on the breast tissue, so more to the back than the front. You want to bend up the knees so that you've taken the pressure out of the side, so you can take more weight into the hips. Then it's really just a gentle rock, sort of over, front to back over the balls. Well, the other option is to find a juicy spot and just breathe into it, and to gently just press down onto the balls here. And whenever we're doing anything in the torso, if we just breathe, we get into some of those muscles of respiration. And so you might feel the intercostals, a couple of the intercostals getting a little bit of a workout here. You can make this one more intense by taking the hand under the head. Because often when we've stayed in the pose for a little while, we become it becomes a little less sensitive. But as I just found, you move the ball sort of a centimetre in either direction, you could find a whole new section. So give that a go. So good. Nice. And so just roll to the other side. And so if you're on the block, just pick yourself up and take it to the other side. I'm going to change direction so that I can still see camera. So ball's coming to into the traps. And maybe beginning just by breathing in and letting the ribs just gently press. But ultimately, we're aiming for the back of the body rather than the true side, more to the back. And you'll find that little ridge there where the wings come in. That's what we're looking for. And so I'm using 2 balls here, but you can easily do this with one. You can even do this little one on a foam roller as well if you've got one of those. Or otherwise just take the side bend. Placing something underneath your rolled up towel is good. And just enjoy that opening up the side body. So wherever you are, breathing into the sides, into the ribs, and feeling the sides expand. Gentle little rocks. And so taking time out just to look after you. I love these because you don't need an appointment. You don't even need half an hour. You can do this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes and move on and get about your day. Just looking after those little spots. Anywhere that's a little sore, a little tight, anywhere you've worked particularly hard. Awesome. Slowly come onto your back. You're going to take something underneath your bottom. So a block or a bolster, rolled up towel, something just to elevate your hips. And so the options, if you're not using the therapy balls, you might stay here or you might extend the legs and find that back bend. If you're using the balls, you're going to take the balls just in, tucked into the trapezius muscles. So they're the slope of the shoulders. And for me, it's quite ropey up there, so I find it very easy to find them. And just sort of tuck the ball in underneath them. And then just gentle little rocks. So just using my feet on the floor to gently, well, we call this one a chug. Just little chugs up and down, little rocks. And this is heaven. And if you want to make it more active, you can take the arms overhead and just slowly bring them back by your side. And this alone, as you move the muscles over the balls, is going to be a nice little massage for you. And again, if you've only got a tennis ball at home, then great, do it with a tennis ball, no problem. But obviously, if you're doing one side, you need to make sure you do the other side as well. You can take the hands behind the head and just slowly take little side bends. So elbow towards waist. So just taking the weight of the head into the hands. And then little gentle rock side to side. Moving the muscles of the traps over the balls. Maybe just breathing into it. Very nice. So let's come off the block and come off the balls. And I'm going to show you how to use the block to give yourself a little massage. So you take the block, And you're going to put it at the occipital bone, so where the occipital bone meets the neck, and then just slowly head rolls side to side. So depending on what you're using, you might have to hold it in place, or you might be able to angle it. If you've got a foam roller, they are particularly fabulous for this. And so you can just place the foam roller under your head and just gently roll side to side. So you're kind of rolling your muscles, those neck extensors over the surface. And that's pretty amazing. Now, if you've got the balls and you wanted to use those instead, you can take them into your hands and just hold the hands behind the head so you can rest the balls on the floor or on your block, and then just roll the head side to side. And that's really nice, but I actually think I prefer the block. I think I prefer the block or a foam roller for that one. So you just need that surface. Wow. So sweet. Deep breath in, long breath out. And release it down. Just come to lie down. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Let the feet go a little wide. Let the feet just kind of flop out to the side. And without forcing it, just breathe into the hands. And just notice how you feel. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice if it's fast or slow, smooth or bumpy, deep or shallow. Notice what you notice without judgment. Notice the quality of your thoughts or the absence of them. Notice physically how you feel. Notice emotionally how you feel. And slowly draw the knees up and into the chest. Give yourself a little squeeze, a little gentle rock side to side. And slowly roll on up.